Welcome to Entrepreneurial Reality with Bash. Every week we'll be speaking to startup and scale-up founders to learn about them, their ambitions for the business, goals and objectives. Every conversation is a moment in time, documenting entrepreneurs' current situation with a view to coming back next year to see how they are getting on. Each journey will be different. Each innovation could be game-changing. I hope you enjoy. Entrepreneurial Reality with Bash, Series 1, Episode 13. I'm delighted to have with me Tom Stubbs, co-founder and CEO of Chronomics. Hi, Tom.
Hi, Ben. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm glad to be able to be here today.
Oh, my pleasure. If you could be so kind as to give us a little bit of background as to where you've come from your education, you as an individual, and becoming the CEO and co-founder of Chronomics.
Yeah, happily. So my background, I originally did my undergraduate at the University of Cambridge, where I studied biochemistry. I then took this knowledge and applied it to a PhD in wet lab and computational epigenetics. So genetics is our DNA that's fixed from birth and does not change, and is the reason we have, for instance, blue eyes, curly hair, and can be at risk for certain genetic diseases. Epigenetics, on the other hand, is the reason that we can have two identical twins that share the same DNA but may have different health outcomes. So, for instance, perhaps one developing breast cancer. And it is the science of how your environment and your lifestyle affects how your DNA is controlled. So essentially, I was working on this in the lab in Cambridge, actually at the Babram Institute, under Professor Wolf Reich, who's a leader in the field of epigenetics research. And during this time, I built epigenetic predictors of aging. And what I found was that actually, instead of just being able to predict how old somebody is, which is obviously not necessarily that interesting, we also saw that you could predict the biological age of somebody. So actually how healthy they appear at the level of their DNA. And where this got, I guess, really interesting was that not only could we predict this biological age, but we also saw that it was impacted by environment and lifestyle, meaning that if people knew about this early enough, they could enact positive change to live a healthier life. And so at this point, together with Daniel Herranz, who was conducting his PhD at the European Bioinformatics Institute near Cambridge at the Sanger campus, and Dr. Toby Primo-Cool, who did his PhD in biotechnology and process automation, we came together to found Chronomics and provide this information to the people. So to take it from the lab to everyone, to us as customers.
So was that the plan from the start, is to establish the knowledge with a view to then building a business to deliver a service to your customers?
No, I don't think it was, to be honest. I think it was one of those, I guess, happy things that happened along the way. So I guess my plan from doing my PhD was to then go on to develop as an academic scientist and to carry on, perhaps shifting disciplines into something else, and to carry on, I guess, improving our understanding of the natural world, if you like. But during, I guess, this epigenetic research, it just so happened that actually we could see how this information was incredibly useful to people. And at the same time, when we look around us and see how DNA testing is becoming more and more powerful, and people such as the NHS and Genomics England are starting to incorporate it into their services, we thought this was just such an exciting time that really we needed to just start a company.
It's interesting you say that about Genomics UK, Genomics England. The Right Honourable Matt Hancock, the Secretary of State for Department of Health and Social Care, has been quoted in The Guardian recently about how people need to be making better health decisions, better dietary decisions, to benefit the NHS, benefit the healthcare as a whole. But that requires data, that requires knowledge. Everybody's wearing wearables now, understanding how many steps you've taken, the exercise, the amount of sleep you get. But it only goes so far.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really glad you, I guess, brought up that point that Matt was bringing up around the fact that, we can, I guess, rely on reactive healthcare at our own peril. So we already know, I guess, if you take, for instance, the US, a huge amount of money is spent on chronic disease management care and is lost due to the lack of productivity because of those diseases. And what we actually find is that what's even worse is that actually the vast majority, so somewhere in the region of 80% of these diseases, are preventable. And so I guess what Matt was alluding to was that actually, if we want to improve our own health and ensure that we as people live healthy into our old age, we need to start acting proactively. And in order to do this, we need to have information about how our environment and our lifestyle are impacting our health. And that's the information that can come with epigenetics. So at a personalized level, epigenetics can tell you how your DNA and the environment and the lifestyle that you're leading are impacting your health in the long term. So are affecting your chances, if you like, of potentially developing cancer or heart disease in the next 20, 40 years.
Wow. And does the service provide recommendations based on the information, based on your current state of how to improve?
Yeah, exactly. So this is a huge part of what we offer and what we found with our customers is that they find this information incredibly useful, but they don't just want to stop at being given this information. They want to know what they can go on to do about it. And so through the product, you get access to learn about your, I guess, personal insights from your DNA, to be able to compare them to other people, to see how your insights compare, both by location, age, but also by genetic predisposition, so at a really personalized level. And then you also have the opportunity to make and track positive changes to live healthier for longer.
Everybody wants that, don't they?
Yeah.
Wow. So the likes of Joe Rogan and Liz Phair is a musician, artist, and Joe Rogan is a well-known podcast producer and involved in the world of MMA. They talked about epigenetics and how it could influence your current life, your current experiences could actually influence the way that your child, your offspring, impacts or reacts to certain environments, certain events that occur. What's your thoughts around that?
Yes, so there's a whole, I guess, field dedicated to understanding how our lives and our environments impact the lives of future generations. And there's a number of different ways in which this information about our environment and lifestyle can be passed on. As a whole, these types of things, I guess, would go under the heading of transgenerational effects. But they can be kind of broken down into things that happen during pregnancy or things that happen kind of prior to pregnancy. And I think what's interesting is that these transgenerational effects aren't just seen in humans, but actually in different organisms across life. And actually, it's not, in the case of mammals, it's not just that maternal environment, but actually there are examples where the father as well contributes to this, I guess, transgenerational effect.
Inherently, I'm thinking about that myself. So my current stage of life is looking to try for a child and introspectively looking at how healthy and fit I am to provide the best possible outcome for my child. And I've moved from the city of London to North Devon for better quality of life, better air quality because of that. It's quite interesting to have then the data to reference and to have a continual improvement approach to your current environment.
Yeah, everyone, as you say, is wanting to kind of improve their health, improve their environment and lifestyle. And obviously, as you say, there is that kind of thought to the next generation for people such as you say yourself, who is thinking about having a child. So yeah, this is, I guess, incredibly important. The fact that, you know, we don't just pass on our genes to the next generation, but there's other things that are involved as well.
Very interesting indeed. And so tell me a bit more about the business itself. Where are you today in terms of funding? I was very fortunate to be at London Tech Week last year, and I was at the Health Tech Forum where you were pitching and really captured my imagination. Where are you in terms of funding, seed, Series A, etc.?
Yeah, so in terms of funding, we were originally funded back in January at a pre-seed stage by the largest early stage biotech VC in the world, based in California, SOSV. And subsequent to that funding, we were able to launch our epigenetic testing product, grow our user base, and because of that, we have subsequently completed our seed round of funding, the details of which are being disclosed this week. So I can't go too much into detail, but yeah, that's the stage we're at.
And with regards to your customer base, how many customers are you acquiring at this point in time, just roughly?
Yeah, so roughly per month now, we're up to kind of hundreds of people taking the test. So it's really exciting times. The money that we were able to raise at seed round have now enabled us to grow the team and develop the product such that we can now provide to this large number of users.
Because I'm interested to know a bit more about how you are intending to scale this funding. Has there been any investment in the infrastructure then, the testing lab, the capacity of producing results based on incoming tests?
Yeah, so in terms of, I guess, where most of the funding is being spent is on the tech side, scaling our ability there. But also, as you say, from the data generation side itself, we've also had to make some changes to the way that we process the data in order to improve efficiency and to, I guess, increase the number of samples that we can process in any one given run.
And I can see this being applicable for anybody who's interested in the welfare, the longevity of their life, just to improve the quality. But in terms of the people that you are seeing signing up at the moment, what's the sort of profile at a high level, the demographic that you are seeing?
Yeah, so I think you've hit the nail on the head there, that this test really is applicable to anyone. And we sort of see that in the types of people who are taking our test. So I don't think at this point we can really say, there's this very, very defined set of people that really want this product or are kind of purchasing this product. In general, there's a slight skew in demographics towards females, but you know, we've got people who are in high-paid jobs, stressful jobs in the city, taking tests, and then we also have, you know, I guess on the other side of that, people who are living in the countryside and are just curious about finding out how changes their environment and lifestyle could be impacting their health. So from people as well that are approaching 80 down to students who are kind of exposed to this emerging and exciting technology and want to take that information and apply it to themselves.
So in terms of numbers then, going from where you are today to the next 12 months, where do you see yourselves as a business then? What's your expectation?
Yeah, as a company today and looking forward to the next 12 months, our real focus is enabling as many people as possible to access this incredibly important and personal information. And in doing so, enabling us to develop the product to provide even more insights about environment and lifestyle. So insights that don't even exist today.
And so how are you going to come about these insights? I'm assuming there's significant amount of data that you have to run through. What sort of technology are you using to help crunch that data and provide those insights?
Yeah, great question. So in terms of how the product works, so I guess as you're aware, customers get sent a simple saliva test they can take in the comfort of their own home. They then provide that sample back to us. We then process it through our state-of-the-art accredited facilities. And that data then gets sequenced using next generation sequencing technology. So actually reading the letters of your DNA. And then we use machine learning or AI, so artificial intelligence, to then derive specific signatures for different environment and lifestyle factors that are impacting your health. And then those are fed back to you as the consumer through your own personal online platform.
Thank you. And in terms of the data itself, it is very personal. What guarantees can you provide your customers in terms of the security of that data, and it's held in confidence? How are you going about that?
Yes, so data security is something that as a company is hugely important to us, pretty much number one priority. And this is one of the reasons we chose to stay based in Europe, because of the regulatory environment and legislation that empowers the customer and puts the customer in control. And so as a company, any data that comes to us from you is owned by you as the customer. So we don't own any of the information that is given to us. That information is not shared with any other party unless you specifically want it to be. And we ensure, using our cloud-based services, the highest security and encryption protocols to make sure that your data stays as just your data. And I think one, I guess, important point to kind of say on this is that we believe so strongly that you own that data, that if you want to download it, keep it yourself, or delete it, you actually can, and it will go. So I guess within the data space, or within the DNA testing space, for instance, there's not really any other company that's true for. So that's, we really strongly believe that your data, your rules.
That's very commendable. I echo that view on protecting the people's data, and it's very interesting you say that the emphasis is on the customer. That's good to hear. In terms of yourself, Tom, it would be great to get some further insight into you as an individual. So moving from the R&D, the education, to a business, what made you decide that in the first place?
I guess as we briefly spoke about at the start, it was the realization of the potential impact that this sort of information has to drive a paradigm shift in the way we think about healthcare. So from generalist and reactive in today's world into personalized and proactive health management in tomorrow's world. And it was really, at the time, I was particularly desperate to go and start a company, but just really this need or desire to kind of fulfill the potential that this data has, and to provide this service to people so that they can live healthier lives. That was really the driving force for, I guess, me starting Chronomics.
Great. In terms of the lessons you've learned to date, what sort of recommendations, a particular one that you could share with the listeners that you've experienced to avoid or to be aware of when building your business, meeting up with your founders?
Yes, so I guess we've learned a lot since we started. I think probably for those who are taking a science product kind of from the lab and really developing it into something that can be offered to people, one key learning is that it's not enough to just have great science. You need a great team of people that are committed to the vision that you see for the future. That was a key learning for me, was that, a science company like ours, there's so much other stuff that needs to be action to enable that science to see the light of day. And that is the stuff that is incredibly important and is the difference between success and failure.
What's just come to mind is about risk to you as a business and regulation.
So I guess in terms of regulation, there's different types. I guess regulation of the processes for generating the data that we comply with. There's then also obviously within Europe, GDPR regulation. And so we have customers not just in Europe, but in Australia and the US and Canada. As we've already talked about DNA security, we believe so strongly in DNA security that we're applying the same approaches to customers that fall outside of that GDPR legislation. But again, GDPR is something regulatory that needed to be complied with. And then there's also regulation when you're providing information that is incredibly sensitive, that then falls under, for instance, IVD type regulation, so in vitro diagnostic regulation. And that is regulation that we are currently moving through the processes of, if you like.
Understood. Thank you. I don't know the detail myself, but I know that from a business perspective, that can be quite a complication when getting to market.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that you can't ignore, and you have to be very proactive about. But it's something that takes time. And I think, something as a science company you have to be mindful of, and also you just have to be very conscious of when you're positioning the information you're giving to people as well. Because, as you say, the regulation is incredibly complicated, and oftentimes the end consumer isn't aware of the differences.
Who provides you with motivation?
It's a tough question. I guess an individual person as a whole, but traits that individuals have that I guess really admire and would love to aspire to. So, for instance, the founder of 23andMe, so a consumer DNA testing company, who kind of led the way in direct consumer testing, and Wozicki. And I really admire the strength and will that she had to take DNA testing in the first place and take it from this thing that you had to go through a doctor to access and to make it accessible to the people in the first place. And I'm really excited that we can now be building on top of that by providing next generation sequencing solutions and epigenetic testing to actually see how that DNA is changing. I guess another person would be purely for his focus on the customer and his adherence to his long-term vision would be, for instance, Jeff Bezos from Amazon. And then I guess lastly, again, we talked about team earlier and how, great science is all well and good, but you actually need a great team to bring it to fruition. And I really admire the way that Google has gone about kind of having its analytical and transparent approaches to team structure and actually organizing objectives within teams to enable the growth that they've seen. And I guess that has been driven by their founders. So, for instance, Larry Page. So, I guess they're a couple of examples of traits or aspects of being an entrepreneur that I really aspire to.
But a very high standards, I must say.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. And as a very busy founder, CEO, you're speaking to a lot of people like myself, investors, managing your business internally, the processes, the systems, making decisions. Where do you get, or how do you get the time, the headspace away? What do you do away from the business?
Yeah, I guess at the moment, very little. But no, when I do get time to, I guess, step back and clear my head, I'm a big climber, so I enjoy getting out and climbing whenever possible, and also playing football.
Cool. And do you do that 5-a-side or 11-a-side?
Yeah, so in London, I guess where we're based, there's some decent 5-a-side or even up to kind of 8-a-side to be had. So it's good fun. Yeah,
good. I've played myself in the Shoreditch 5-a-side there. There's
awesome.
League. Yeah, that was good fun.
Yeah.
And time's moving on, but I've got a couple more questions. So, based on what you know now, what would you do differently?
Yeah, tough question again. In terms of kind of what we've done, if I had to go back to where I started and start again, I probably wouldn't have done anything different with the knowledge I now have. And I think the reason for that is that as you go through the process of starting a company, you learn a huge amount, and as you say, you get to meet a bunch of incredibly talented and wise, knowledgeable people that aid you on that journey and then are with you for that journey, whether that be investors or people that have offered advice or people you've brought onto the team or people you've seen give talks or pitches or whatever it might be. And I don't think I would trade that learning for any alternative approach to starting the company. I would say, though, that if there was one thing I would do differently is maybe strive to make some decisions faster. So rather than let things, I guess, linger for a couple of days or a week, just make decisions faster, I'd say is something that you get better at as you progress.
Thank you. And in terms of continual learning, of course, the best learning is by doing, and maybe failing fast, failing forward. So in addition to that, are there any other sources of material that you are leveraging to help complement your knowledge as it is today?
Yeah, definitely. So I think, again, as we mentioned, failing is incredibly important, and also having people around you who can support you is incredibly important. But also there's a ton of good, like really useful literature from people who have started companies or developed processes for doing things or have worked on team building or the psychology of that or fundraising or whatever it might be. And I actually find, as you say, doing is the best thing, but also being able to take time to actually read and learn more about other people's experiences firsthand through their words is incredibly important. So I guess you're going to ask some specific books or something.
I was hoping you were going to mention one, yes.
Yeah, so I guess I could think of potentially three books that have been, I guess, useful for different reasons, but there's definitely many more than this, and happy to, I guess, advise on that for people who want it. 3 books that I think have been important, and I would definitely advise myself to read again if I was going to start again. One would be The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni, which is, again, about team building and spotting those early signs of the, I guess, structure or team dynamics starting to go a bit awry and being able to act on them proactively to keep the team healthy, not health, but yeah. And a second book, which was, again, incredibly useful for us and that we still treat as almost a Bible, is Sprint by Jake Knapp. So about how to solve big problems quickly. So how to solve problems and test new ideas in only a couple of days or a week. And that's been incredibly useful to test out the design space and zoom in on a solution, get feedback on it quickly, and as you say, learn fast and fail fast, and instilling that culture. And then the last book, which I think is really useful, especially for a young entrepreneur, is Good Strategy, Bad Strategy, The Difference and Why It Matters, which is by Richard Rumelt. Again, just gives good examples and flavors for how to go about thinking about your company in the context of the market and the world at large.
Thank you so much. That's great. That's a lot of reading to get onto.
Yeah.
So yeah, I must get onto Amazon and start buying.
Yeah.
No, thank you for that. And time has pushed on. You very kindly have provided the listeners with a discount. If people are listening to this and are interested in Chronomics and want to explore what their DNA and their current state is and how they can improve their lives through epigenetics, through the services you provide, you very kindly provided the listeners 10% discount if you used the link, the voucher code BASH, B-A-S-H. And thank you for that. There'll be a link in the profile for people to access. So thank you so much, Tom, for your time. It would be great to follow your journey over the next 12 months and for you to come back and regale on those experiences and where you are again and what you plan to do for the next 12 months on from there. Would you be happy to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Thank you so much again for your time, and I wish you every success.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. Take care.
Cheers.
So what do you think? We'll have another interesting story to dive into next week. Looking forward to it already. Some questions to you in the meantime. What is your story? What is your reality right now? And what are you working towards? Let me know. So you can connect with me on Twitter. Just type in Bash in the search and you'll find me. So Bash, B-A-S-H. Easy. On Instagram, it's Bash Reality. So that's Bash_reality. And on LinkedIn, Benjamin Ashmore. Make sure you subscribe, and until next week, cheers.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.